Somebody mentioned, do you think we're going to carry the Senate in 2020? It's going to be tough. Part of the reason is we're probably going to lose a senator in Alabama. Now, I don't know for sure. Doug Jones got in there. It was a special election. And he's up for re-election, I believe, in 2020, if I'm not mistaken. But good for him while he's in there to go on Face the Nation, just as the Democrats in the Senate and the House have introduced a bill to provide a new formula for Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act, which essentially gutted the Voting Rights Act when the Supreme Court ruled that there was no proof that these formerly racist states are still racist. And then, of course, like literally within months, there was proof that half of them were racist again via lawsuits and whatnot in terms of their voting restrictions. But here is Doug Jones basically saying we need to reinstitute the Voting Rights Act.
About backsliding, that's the phrase you use.
Yep.
Particularly on the voting rights of
no
minorities these days. Who do you blame for that?
Well, I think it's a combination of things. I mean, I think that we've had some losses in the courts, but I also think it's a political power grab right now where people are trying to gerrymander districts, where people are trying to prevent people to the right to vote, give them free access to the vote. We need to be expanding the voter rolls and trying to get people to the vote. We need to be pushing the percentage of Americans up who want to vote on election day. And instead, we seem to be working, and the powers that be seem to be constricting that. And I think we've got to change that. There's a new bill pending right now, introduced last week on the voter enhancement, try to put some teeth back in the Voting Rights Act.
Who do you blame for this?
Well, I think if you look at carefully, you have to look at the state legislatures, governors, and members of Congress that are Republicans. For whatever reason, they do not want African Americans and other minorities to vote. I assume rather than trying to get those votes, they seem to want to restrict those votes. And I think that that's incredibly unfortunate. We need to have more dialogues in this country rather than monologues. And we can do it about Voting Rights Act. We talk a good game about everybody having a right to vote and a duty to vote. But at the end of the day, we seem to be working to try to restrict that, and that's just wrong.
I mean, that, he's got to do a lot of we and the powers that be and this and that, but when push came to shove, he was willing to call out exactly, and everybody knows it. I mean, they don't put it in their platform, but they certainly, every Republican intellectual has said, like, we do better when there's no voting. Yeah, that Wisconsin lawmaker was like, oh, this voter suppression, this is going to get us 1 or 2 points in the general election. Guess what? It did.
Pretty important ones, too.
Yeah. What was the difference in Wisconsin? 7,000 or 12,000? In the presidential election? 22,000 in Wisconsin? Are you sure about that? Oh, yeah, it was. I'm sorry. It was 12,000 in Michigan. 22,000, that's chump change.